Hello, everyone. I'm Laura, the president of the Cambridge University Italian Society. I am very pleased to welcome Franca D'Agostini, professor of theoretical philosophy at the University of Milano and University of Torino, a great expert in truth theories.
Okay.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
too.
joining us.
You're welcome, and thank you for this invitation. Very nice. Thank you.
The
Okay.
Cambridge University Italian Society was founded in 1946 by Scottish poet and resistance fighter Henderson. He was instrumental in creating the first Edinburgh People's Festival, what is now the Festival Fringe. He also translated into English Antonio Gramsci's Prison Letters. The Cambridge University Italian Society is a student-run society that promotes Italian culture in Cambridge. Our aim is to create a platform for exchange between different cultures with the purpose of allowing people from all over the world to get to know Italy, its reality, traditions, and culture a bit better. We are committed to creating a friendly, welcoming environment where Italians and non-Italians alike can feel at home. My first question is, in the
Okay.
last 2 centuries, the concept of truth was constantly under attack. Nowadays, do we actually need truth?
Well, we need truth in the same way in which we have always needed it. What has changed is rather our awareness about it. But I'm very. I like this question because you ask the question about truth, focusing on two aspects that are very interesting for me. First, the need of truth, and second, the concept. Because one thing is to need truth in the sense of the need to know truth about relevant topics, which is evidently always the same. Um, and we do not always need truth. Sometimes we prefer don't know. Sometimes we even prefer to be deceived. And while there is the second aspect of the question is interesting because on the contrary, we need to use the concept of truth in the right way. I want to ask you a question instead of answering. What do you think? Why do we have this concept? Why do we have this old, ancient, fundamental concept of philosophy? The most plausible answer, the simplest answer, is that we need truth to avoid falsities, for error or deceit. So we fundamentally need not to be deceived, misled, manipulated, and so on. And now you can see that we are highly aware, and in this very moment, of the importance of not being manipulated. So the importance of using the concept of truth in the right way. Now there are risks in using this concept in this way, because in the attempt to exclude falsities, we may be wrong. we can, for instance, reject what is true and what is important and preserve carefully sometimes oddities and unbearable things and wrong ideas. So this is namely the point, the important point of the ancient and contemporary Alithic nihilists. You said the concept of truth was under attack. Well, what was under attack, strictly speaking? If we have to interpret the idea in the right way, was rather the wrong use of the concept of truth, the dogmatic use. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Is it enough? Is a good answer this?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Second question. Digitalization increased the quantity of information we can access. Is this good or bad news for truth? More information means more truth or the opposite?
Well, again, we have two questions. The first is the digitalization. These are the digitalization of information and communication is neither good nor a bad thing. It is a destiny. It is an avoidable destiny of the human species. It is an evolutionary given. Point is that we have to overturn the relationship between increasing of information and digitalization. This is the idea of technical means to control information and communication is typically the idea of managing to dominate the impressive increasing of communication. So if I have technical means, I can confront a big amount of data with other data and arrive at a truth and a more refined truth about very complex phenomena. This does not mean that digitalization as such is a good thing, because I said it is a destiny. It is not neither good nor bad. This rather means that with the increasing of information, well, it rather means that as often happens, the solution, that is the technical control of information, has become a problem. That is, has produced an enormous amount of data and an impressive increasing of information and communication. But the important point is that increasing more, you say more information means more truth. Well, more information means more falsity, more truth, more half truth, more half falsity, and so on. But also, and this is important, more instruments to select truth, to distinguish truth from falsity, which means we end in pair, so to say. And this is because our need of truth hasn't changed so much. What has changed is that we are in another attitude toward truth. We behave in a different ways with this ancient concept.
Thank you. We live in liberal democracies where openness to multiple perspectives is the basis of society. Is truth as the unique perspective on the world actually compatible with liberal democracies, that is, with the multiplicity of perspectives?
Well, I think there is a misunderstanding here because very often people think that there is enmity between um, democracy and truth, between well, encouraged by people just like Vattimo or Rorty, who uh, said that there is a conflict between democracy and truth. But evidently, as I have specified, they thought of the dogmatic use of the concept, not of the concept itself, because concepts are innocent entities, are not good or bad, are tools, and one can use it in the wrong and the right way. Um, well, the idea that there is an enmity between liberalism, democratic liberalism, and truth is basically wrong for a very simple argument. Uh, well, let's reconstruct the argument. First,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me or not? Yeah, yeah, I think there is the problem. There is a problem with the earphones. Maybe just speak, try to speak without them because I can't hear you. I don't know if the members of the public can actually, yeah. Um, you need to switch on the yeah your microphone because also the members of the public they wrote they can't hear you, so it's not just my problem. You I think your microphone is switched off and um, just see, and there should be a picture of.
okay, can
Yeah,
you hear
now
me?
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah. I thought it was just my problem, but
Because
actually also some people wrote that they can't hear you. So, but now it's fine. So sorry. Could you repeat please what you? Yeah.
okay. Well, the problem was that the connection was not so good. And so it arrived a message. Okay. Anyway, let's begin by the end, the supposed enmity between liberalism and truth. That was the
Mm.
question. Is
Yes,
it good?
yes.
Okay. So I move to, I say again what I was saying before, and the basic idea is this, that there is no real enmity between liberalism and truth. On the contrary, as we have claimed in our book, Truth in Power, published last year, um, in a sense, the role of truth is grounding for liberalism and for liberal democracy. Clearly, we are used to thinking that there is a conflict, mainly because of the analysis of people just like Vattimo, who wrote Dio la verità, Farewell to Truth, or Rorty, who insisted upon the incompatibility of the Alithic standards, that is, truth and democracy. But evidently, they didn't spoke of the concept of truth or the need of truth, as we are speaking about. They spoke about the dogmatic use of truth. So it was completely another question. The point that I want to stress now is a very, very simple argument. Let's begin by the basic idea that I think you can admit that we all, on normal condition, and especially in public debate, but also in the practice of law, in science, and in politics, we have partial truth. So we cannot see exactly the whole. We cannot have the whole vision, and so our truths are incomplete. Now, liberalism is the idea that we need to confront each other, that we need open discussion, and we need that all people have the possibility of contributing to the public discussion. And this is evidently, and the confrontation and the open discussion is evidently the main tool we have to get truth. And this is why truth is not, there is not a real conflict between liberalism, liberal democracy, and truth. On the other, I think instead that democracy requires the use of truth in a sense, in the very fundamental sense. I like to say that truth to democracy is necessary for democracy, not exactly like food to life, but like water for rain. Okay, it is the constituent, the same material of which democratic life is made.
Okay, thank you very much. Mm, let's speak about fake news.
Oh,
Fake news is one of the major problems modern democracies are facing. Politicians themselves often make use of fake news. Is this inevitable? I mean, is not the task of politicians that of persuading people to believe in their ideas at any cost, also using fake news. What is the relationship between politics and truth, in your opinion?
Oh, well, I think uh, well, this is a complex question, evidently, and a very important question because it makes us think that we need change. We need to change our political style, the way in which political discourses are normally produced and conceived. Political language must change because we cannot go on this way. This is quite evident. The interesting point, well, let's move to what exactly fake news means. Fake news are not falsities, evidently. They are news that simulate to be news but are not. So fake doesn't mean false, and fake news are like fake banknotes. They simulate to be banknotes, but you cannot use them to do what they are intended to do. Um, and the same holds for news. Fake news are not news. Uh, they pretend to be what they are not. Um, Now, the important point, as just like banknotes, fake banknotes, fake news have some true aspects. They are complex. Normally, they are complex narratives. They contain some truth, some half truth, falsities, and half falsities, and so on. And the point is that what makes them believable is the fact, is namely the truth that they contain. But pay attention because the truth is always what can destroy uh, fakeness, and so they have the internal strength that can reject that can disprove them in a sense. Now the real problem is that all our narratives are a bit fake. That is to say, to give a description of a situation. This is this often said by critics of truth. What we have is basically narratives, and in narration we have inevitably some not falsity, but some distorted given. And this means that fake news, as you mentioned, are a bit inevitable. So there is a level of inevitability in our in our verbal fakeness. Well, evidently, everything depends on how we use this. Fakeness in itself is not bad. Uh, it can be useful sometimes. Art, theater, movies. Okay, is it enough for you?
Yeah, thank you. um, is there any way of overcoming the problem of fake news?
Okay, well, my point is very simple. Um, the awareness that we have about the possibility of fake news is already the solution. Okay, or rather, it is the beginning of the solution. We are aware of them. And that is the reason why I say that our attitude towards truth, falsities, deception, and all these things is going to change it should change, and I think it's going to change.
Thank you. Social media should be responsible for fact checking and possibly eliminate contents that they consider to be fake, or this should be a task individuals should accomplish on their own.
Well, I agree with both because we need a top-down solution from the heading structures and from ourselves. The point is that we all should change our attitude toward truth. Not only politicians, not only people who works in science, in academic research, in everything, and not only male and female individuals in their house and in their personal and private life, but everyone should change her idea about truth, and it's going to change.
In order to distinguish truth from lie, should we all be philosophers, or is there hope also for non-philosophers? And why?
Okay. Okay. Well, if you take philosophy as the art of truth, I I tend to agree with this definition. Well, if you take philosophy as the art of truth, that is the art of pay attention to truth, be friend of truth, like the old philosophers. You remember that Plato in the Republic and Aristotle in Ethica, in Nicomachean and Ethic, they both say they were friends of truth. Well, if we become artists of truth and a friend of truth, but just like an artist is a friend of his material, and so he knows all the difficulties and the resistance of the material. And sometimes an artist hates its material, and sometimes he loves it. But basically, he is or she is enormously respectful to the power of the material she's going to manipulate. Now, well, if we take philosophy in this sense, we should all become philosophers, artists of truth, because we all need to become aware of the concept of truth, of its importance, and its extreme difficulty and importance of treating it in democratic context. Simply because democracy is the context in which our decisions are relevant not only for ourselves but also for other people and for the community. So if our decisions are grounded on falsities, clearly are self-defeating, are not only properly wrong ethically, but practically wrong. And what I wanted to say is that ultimately there is no need of studying philosophy so much to become philosophers in this sense. I know lots of philosophers that have never studied philosophy, and uh, besides that, philosophy at the moment is a discipline which suffers from difficulties, from alethic difficulties, just like any other science and discipline. So yes, we all should become philosophers, but it's not necessary to study so much philosophy.
Okay. But nowadays, do we need philosophy?
Well, nowadays we need philosophy. We absolutely need philosophy as the art of truth. And as I think that we all know this. And this is a very interesting point because I think that lots of people agree with me in the idea that the art of truth is an important art. Absolutely. But besides that, you know that in the book we published last year, the title you mentioned it, possibly you mentioned the title in our conversation, was Truth, well, Truth in Power, La verità al potere. Well, in that book, we claimed that democracy is truth in power, in the sense not that truth as a true content, but the concept of truth plays a very important role in democracy. This is the basic idea. As I said before, it is the constituent truth in a sense. The use of the concept of truth in a sense is the constituent of democracy, like water for rain. Okay, but now I would say that the true democracy is philosophy in power, not in the sense of Plato, not in Plato's sense. That is the power of a special class of intellectuals or specialists or people especially competent in philosophy. Not in Hegel's sense, that is the primacy of philosophy as a science or discipline, but in the sense of philosophy as the art of truth that we all can learn and teach. Okay.
Thank you. And how can philosophy help us during the pandemic?
Oh well. well, well, the art of truth is basically a skeptical art. So the first step of truth is skepticism. But pay attention, is not absolutely, is philosophical skepticism. That is the skepticism of a person who is interested in truth, not in her own opinions, but in truth. There is a letter in which Kant says a thing that I like very much, and I quote constantly. And he writes, mm, I do not depend on anything, and I overturn very often um, all my opinions. Sorry, I am completely indifferent to my opinion and the opinion of other people. So I always overturn the entire construction and reconsider how I can reconstruct it with the aim of truth. So the quotation is important because it establishes an important difference between opinions, personal opinion, and other people's opinions, and truth. And the quotation says that a true philosopher is not interested in an opinion. Is in a way it is an enemy of opinions. She prefers truth. Okay.
Thank you. And are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future, considering the pandemic and so on?
Pessimism and optimism are not strictly philosophical attitudes. Uh, as often people say that there is optimism in Hegel's idea of progression, of the development of the spirit of reason, but that is not wrong. The progression is a possibility. We know this possibility. It is important to take it into consideration, to consider it. But everything can go wrong, completely wrong. That is not excluded. The human species can destroy itself. Why not? It can. But
Thank you.
we know there are possibilities for another and another narrative. And so we have to pay attention to the other narrative. Okay?
Thank you. And the very last question, personal question. How was your lockdown experience?
Well, I'm afraid I liked it. I'm afraid because it is deeply stupid, because it is a very serious stupidity, because you know that people closed in very uncomfortable houses with many children. Well, I had my books, my computer, my life, and besides that, I had more time to reflect, to study, to think, and so it is good to play music, and so it is good for a person who normally does these things. But for other people, it's destroying, and so I think, especially think about those young people who began to work, who created something and began to work in a new creation, in a very important new enterprise, and they were blocked. I find it horrible. And so, yes. I liked it, but I am ashamed to have liked it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Professor D'Agostini, for joining us. It was a very interesting conversation, and we can conclude our interview. Thank you so much again, and see you in Cambridge in the future.
Okay, sorry, I don't have light now. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
So thank you.
Are there no question or other questions?
No, I can't see any questions from the public, so I think they were very happy with your answers. So
okay, fine. Thank you so much. Bye.
So thank you very much, and bye.
Bye. See
Bye.
you. Okay.